let's go right ahead and talk about LeBron and Bronny James. So, obviously, the first ever game that they both played with each other, LeBron literally made his teammate. And this is a lifetime achievement for LeBron. This is something that he's always wanted to do. And this is arguably the best father-son duo in NBA history. And LeBron and Bronny James combined for 19 points. LeBron had 19, and that's all you really need to know. But aside from that, I mean, LeBron still 19 points, 16 minutes, proving to everybody that he is just continued to be the best. He is still the top dog in the NBA. He is still the apex predator and is still somebody that is a very solid force in NBA basketball. I mean, 19 points in 16 minutes is insane no matter who you are. And he also was able to acquire 5 rebounds and 4 assists as well. And now, with Bronny's side, as you guys know, he helped LeBron James in combining for 19 points, meaning that he ended up scoring 0 points, which is it's really not looking good right now for Bronny and his, his lack of offense. And, I mean, this was also a problem in the previous matchup against the Timberwolves. I'm not really going to talk about the matchup as a whole, but I'm going to talk about Bronny and his performance in that overall matchup. And yeah, I was about to say, Bronny doesn't even pop up in the box scores. That's how bad it is. But no, he does. He ended up going 1 for 6 in that previous game against Minnesota. And while his defense was phenomenal, and he did get this chase down block that had the whole media just, because I mean, it was like, blocked by James, where have I seen that before kind of vibes. You guys understand what I'm saying? So it's like all of these little things and all of these little plays are getting so much attention. That's a problem, because this is just going to increase the amount of scrutiny that so many people are going to give towards Bronny just because he is LeBron James' son. And it really begs the question, should have Bronny been drafted? Like, would he have been drafted if he was LeBron James, if he was someone other than LeBron James' son? The answer is no. Like, I genuinely don't think that he would have gotten drafted if he wasn't LeBron's son. However, that doesn't mean that he cannot improve. That does not mean that he cannot get better over the years. That also does not mean that this is going to be the ceiling that we see Bronny. This isn't necessarily Bronny's ceiling. Like, he could get better. And that's going to take time. Because look at Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown was arguably just as bad in the preseason and in the summer league as Bronny is now. And here he's winning. Now he's winning Finals MVPs and he's winning Eastern Conference Finals MVPs. And it's like, you can really be that guy if you work your way to it. And if you try to, if you put in the work, you can do everything. And the one thing that a lot of people might not have agreed with is the fact that Bronny is going straight to the NBA and not somewhere like maybe the G League or play another year in college. But at the end of the day, I feel like, if you do make it, if there is a chance that you can get in the NBA, then you get in the NBA. So that way you can get that contract and you can also get the coaching experience from a lot of the modern NBA coaches, and still, it's coaching experience, and the coaches are arguably going to be better in the NBA than they are in college, so you're still working on improving yourself. And let me just go ahead and acknowledge somebody in the chat. Trixie just came across your channel and am enjoying it. Thank you for sharing your sports knowledge. I appreciate it. It's not just my channel. It's a channel full of so many other people as well that I also recommend you listen to. We have a football podcast that happens before the basketball podcast that I do. We also have a sports podcast that covers all of the sports, but mainly it's going to cover football because the football games just happened recently. They literally just happened yesterday, as well as the college football games. I mean, he can cover that as well. And we also have a college football podcast. Also, we have a chip shot football podcast. We have a fantasy football podcast. We have so many football podcasts. It's honestly a little bit too much, but honestly, you can never have too much football. But more so on Bronny. Speaking of football, maybe Bronny would have had a better career pursuing football. Who knows? But aside from that, right now it's like these games, they're not good. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They're not good games coming in from Bronny. But I don't really know what the fans sort of expect him to do. Like, do they expect him to be this good overnight? I genuinely don't understand. Now, obviously, we know that the reason, I don't really want to say it in this sort of way, but nepotism does exist in the NBA, and it is a big reason why Bronny was drafted. However, that does not mean that I'm firmly believing that he can definitely improve on his game, and he has the perfect player to help him do that. I mean, there's probably way more that Bronny can learn from his own father than he could learn from some of these coaches in the NBA. And I feel like his time on the Lakers roster ultimately gives LeBron James more time with his son, who in turn will be able to learn more from him. Because, I mean, obviously, when Bronny and LeBron are in college, they're doing when Bronny is doing his thing and when LeBron is doing his thing, they're in two completely different worlds. And it's only in certain moments where they actually spend time with each other aside from the off season. So imagine now that they spend all this time together 24/7 doing nothing but working on basketball. I think that improvement, I think we should be able to see some sort of improvement as the season progresses from Bronny. Like, I think a really big problem here is that he just cannot make his shots. And because he already has defense down. Like, that is half the battle right there. Defense is half the game. Well, I guess, I mean, if you're a good team, a little bit less than half because you spend a few more possessions on offense, right? But half the game, essentially, is played on the other side of the court. And Bronny already knows how to do that. And Bronny can do that rather efficiently. Now it's just the other side of the basketball court that he's going to have to work on. And I think spending time, like all the time, with LeBron is one of the best coaching methods that you can possibly have. Again, that is just me, just given off of the fact of LeBron's IQ, the way that he thinks, and the way that he knows the game is played, not just the way that he knows the game. He has 22 years of experience, so Bronny can probably have access to knowledge that no other coach, I mean, even JJ Redick might not even be able to have, because let's face it, JJ Redick, well, I have no idea how his coaching career is, but based off of like experience in the NBA, LeBron already has more than JJ Redick, despite the fact that JJ Redick is already an NBA coach. So just put that into perspective and put that into some sort of thinking, because I mean, again, being able to spend all of your time with the greatest basketball player to ever touch the court, it could really, really help you. Like, it genuinely can help your game. Now, I know it sounds like I'm just being super incredibly optimistic for Bronny, and yes, I definitely am. It's not necessarily because he is LeBron James' son, at least I try for it not to be, but I also do not want to jump the gun on any sort of players based off of preseason or like summer league performances. And I also don't want to jump the gun after just 1 year, because we've seen players just, be rather poor in their rookie year or really bad in a specific year early on, and then they later on develop into the kind of player that they were expected to be, or even better than the kind of player that everyone thought they were expected to be. Like Fred VanVleet, nobody thought that Fred VanVleet was going to be this talented. Now you hear a bunch of people splurting out hot takes about how he's better than John Stockton, which is absurd, by the way. And again, back with the Jaylen Brown, nobody expected Jaylen Brown to be a Finals MVP or an Eastern Conference Finals MVP, yet here he is. And what other player that wasn't really hyped up in the beginning or didn't really... I mean, you can make the argument that Victor Oladipo was one of those kinds of players. I mean, when he was on Orlando, he was pretty solid. But then when he went to OKC, he wasn't as impressive as a lot of people thought. And then when he went to Indiana, he turns into the Black Panther. Like, these kind of performances and these kind of players, they exist, they happen. It's a huge possibility that it can also happen with Bronny. So I really don't want to jump the gun on those kind of instances. But that's just me. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Now, aside from that, we are going to recap we're going to go into the third segment, and we're going to do a recap of my predictions for the games that were going to happen on opening night, which was the Friday games, Friday, October 4th. And I'm just going to go ahead and recap exactly what happened and what my predictions were. And if there is a little bit of time, then I'll recap some of the other games, but I am trying to save that for a little bit later. So I'll be right back after this short break. Be sure to stay tuned.
Looking for your daily fix of sports talk without having to pay for it? GSMC Sports Network is available on YouTube. Just search GSMC Sports Network. Get your fix of daily sports talk shows on YouTube, absolutely free. NFL, college football, NBA, MLB, MMA, UFC, fantasy football, and so much more. GSMC Sports Network has shows running all day long, with new sports shows starting every 2 hours. Just like on your favorite cable sports channel, except GSMC Sports Network is absolutely free. Just search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube to catch one of your new favorite shows, like the GSMC College Football Podcast, Chip Shot Football Podcast, Hoops and Heels Women's Sports Podcast, GSMC Basketball Podcast, and so many more. Check it out for yourself. GSMC Sports Network, now available on YouTube absolutely free. Search GSMC Sports Network on YouTube right now.